Wow, I just woke up like 15, 20 minutes ago. I'm still scrambling. Uh, Hi and welcome. Today we're outside because this is the first time in probably about 3 or 4 days that I've been able to be outside because of the weather. So it's not like 60-mile-an-hour wind. So let's take a look at the nice, calm landscape. No clouds, plenty of sun, no wind. That feels nice. The winds are going to pick up a little bit later today. So, like I said in the beginning, originally originally um the oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry. Still waking up, still tired. I stood up till about midnight, 1 o'clock. Something cool that I'm working on though. So a lot of people over the years have said, dude, you need to write a book. You need to tell your experience. You need to tell it because in a lot of ways, being a homeless person, there's certain things that I've done and the way that I've lived my lifestyle that make me unique in the homeless community, especially from the perceived homeless community, like the average person. What's up? What's up, Beth? Nice to see you. Okay, I responded to your messages. Uh, so, but just so you know, and for those of you that are wondering about like Patreon and stuff like that, over on Patreon, uh, over on Patreon, I forgot again. My brain is I haven't woke my brain up. I'm still on my first cup of coffee. I've only had a couple of sips, and I'm only on my second cigarette of the day. So my morning routine is 3 cigarettes in the morning, back to back. That's kind of how I get my morning started. That with at least 2 cups of coffee. The first cup of coffee is to wake me up. The second cup of coffee is just for a good cup of taste. But that's just kind of the way it is. So, here, let me show you. So the rock garden, ended up, it didn't really have much of an issue because of where it's at. Like I said, I'm gonna put a little bit of a rock barrier here. Let me. I'm gonna put a little. I'm gonna look. I'm gonna do a little. Uh, I'm gonna show you guys something here real quick. So right here, that's my tarp. Okay, as you see, like the little mouse that was hanging out there, we got rid of that damn thing. So yeah, once I cut back that tree a little bit, but as you see, right here is where the wind is coming through. So I, this corner part here under the trailer. So so down under here, I want to just kind of build a little bit of a rock barrier because what happens is because it's so low to the ground, all that wind comes underneath. So if I can block that wind underneath, now part of it is done. If you look here, part of it is already being done because I built my outline for where I put my trailer. I'm kind of using rocks to outline everything. But for the most part, this is the next project that I need to work on because I get paid on the 21st, which that is next week. And so next week, I'm gonna talk to my neighbor about giving me a ride down to the giving me a ride down to what's the word I'm looking for? Give me a ride down to Family Dollar so I can pick up 10 bags of dirt. And I'm going into town today since it's not windy, which is probably why this isn't going to be a very long live stream. Because around 10 or 11 o'clock is when the winds are going to pick up, and I want to be back home by that time. Plus, I got some stuff to do. But anyways, I'm writing a book. I'm actually doing a 3-part series. I've already kind of got it planned out. Once I get the final product, I think because I have ChatGPT and I pay for it now, I pay $20 a month for it, which is quite frankly, for the value I get for it from it, even with the mistakes and stuff like that it makes, it's worth it. It's worth $20. Yes, it is beautiful, Edward. When the wind isn't raging, this is a really nice place. But when the wind is raging, everybody goes inside. Just like if you go to Vegas, nobody comes outside till night because it's too hot during the day. The culture here is about half of the week or more, you may be stuck inside due to windstorms or crazy freaking weather. But anyways, so this is going to be a 3-book series. I'm gonna sell each book for $9.99 a piece. I think it'll be worth it. The structure is gonna be about 75 to 100 pages uh, for each book, because I mean I'm not gonna write a 300 or 400 page book. I don't. It's not in me. And plus, I've got to read every single word, and I'm probably gonna have to read it 2 or 3 times. So I don't want something that's super huge to read because it'll be really, really freaking hard. Um, because once I get the final product, then I got to go through and read line by line, edit it, make sure that the wording is exactly the way I want it to be. Add, subtract, do this stuff, add some stories, stuff like that. I'll probably add another 5 pages to it just in my corrections. But with my goal of 75 to 100 pages, $9.99 for a digital book, I am going to, and then what I'll have to do is I'll have to work on doing an audio book. Okay. Because this will be like my flagship digital product. Okay, so I've tried selling pictures, I've tried selling postcards. If you want any of that stuff, you can go over to aihomesteader.com. In my shop, I got all my digital products. I even got some over on Patreon. But uh, for the most part, um, I just I want to have a flagship digital product, and a book, especially with as fascinated as people are with my story and my background, they'll not only understand where I came from, but how I got to be who I am. Because I will tell you, last night's telling some of those stories, man, it brought me to tears talking about some of that stuff. Like, telling my story is so emotional. And I think when you actually read the final product, so part of my marketing campaign, once I get it done, because if I can get the first book done in under 30 days and at least sell one or two of them, that will pay for Chat GPT for the month, because I want everything to be self-sustaining. I can't afford to take losses on things and products that I what's up, Invisible Man? Um, I can't afford to take a risk on products that might work and stuff like that. I'm not financially stable enough. I'm trying to gain some financial traction by making sure that the things that I do are creating value that will pay off either in the immediate present or very shortly. Um, I've learned a lot of stuff about how to sell digitally, especially selling online, and I don't know. It's a little bit different. I've never really like I've sold products. I mean, that's part of being a salesman is you're selling products and services. But I've never sold my own product. This is the first time in my life that I've ever like as a salesman selling my own product, other than maybe my cleaning business. But I was selling a service. I wasn't selling something physical. And so it wasn't something that I made. It was a skill I had. This right here is something that I make, and so it's a little bit different for me. Such a good business sense, even with Swift to digital business. Well, when I started my cleaning business, I didn't realize it at the time, but I was already in the digital economy. I didn't start my business the traditional way. I started with a $20 bill in my pocket. I went to a website or an app called Thumbtack, and because I was in home services, there's places where you can go buy leads. Because I'd been in sales, I knew that if I had leads, if I had people I could talk to, I could close business, I could make money. So that was my incentive because I already had the confidence in my ability to close deals. So I put 20 bucks in. I made like 4 or 5 bids because they were a couple of bucks a piece, and uh, I ended up getting one job out of that, which was average for stats, especially being like a brand new startup, to have pretty much as much of a successful closing rate as somebody who was a seasoned business owner. That was really what helped me, and that was because of my sales background. My sales background has given me a lot more opportunities than a lot of people even think of, because once you learn how to sell something, you can pretty much do anything in life. And people think sales is all about the words and how persuasive and stuff like that. No, 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 no. People are psychologically wired to look for certain things. They're psychologically wired to want certain things because it's part of our genetic evolution. And in sales, you've got to learn to tap into that. You've got to learn to use psychological hacks to get people to um, to get people to move in the direction you want, such as fear of loss or keeping up with the Joneses. Those are two of the most common ones. You put something in somebody's hand and then you take it away from them. You once something gets in somebody's hands, they ought to psychologically they take ownership. So when you try and take it away, they want it because they've already decided that they own it because it's in their hands. That's why you'll see some people when you go to hand them something, they'll be like, no, 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 I don't want it, because they already know the psychological hack. As soon as you put it in their hands, they're going to want it. They're going to think it's theirs. And then they're going to try and buy it from you. And it's not something they like, want, or need. So people are conscious to that. But this is a psychological navigation. Modern era is when people look at history, it, before the modern era, you had to be physically fit and genetically sound. In the modern era, it is nothing but psychological warfare in everything that you do, from the products you buy to the things you do. It's all psychological warfare, because in order to sell a product, you're basically playing the malevolent shrink. That's why, and sales has gotten such a bad name. It used to be salesmen were like, I don't know, 50, 75 years ago. The stories are, if a salesman was walking down the road, people would come out and meet him. A salesman was somebody who was automatically invited into the house, until you started getting snake oil salesmen. Snake oil salesmen, people that were greedy and desperate, that were looking for a a quick buck. Those were the people that started getting into sales, because people wanted to make more money. Companies wanted to make more money. Their ethics went out the door in the quest for the corporate mandate, which is profit. And so therefore that completely destroyed sales. It took me, one of the things that I worked on after I realized that, which is probably after my second sales job, was that um, well, I learned some important lessons, such as I needed to go back to the old ethics, the old style ethics of old salesmen, and that's something that I have done, or that I did, and it worked out great for me. I actually became a better salesman, because what made salesmen, the reason why people liked and trusted salesmen, is because they were selling a product. They knew their product, and they were being honest about their product. They knew who the product fit and who the product didn't fit, and so therefore, why waste your time on people that aren't going to buy? Look for the people that are going to buy, because you're looking for these specific traits. And so therefore salesmen were a lot more ethical back in the day, because it was trusted. You were still held accountable within your own community. You still had to go to church with these people. You still had to look your neighbors in the eye. So you weren't going to do anything that was going to jeopardize your community or your standing in the community. Once the community was destroyed, sales became what it is known today. And this is the important part of the destruction. I know a guy, Scooter Tramp Scooty. He wrote a book, and it's good. He's been living from his motorcycle for 25 years. That's good to know. What's up, Cherokee? What's up, both? Uh, yeah, lawyers too. Lawyers have always been shady. Lawyers have never been trusted, even back in the Bible days. If you look at the way that they treated lawyers, is that a lawyer was just as much of a ret as a devil worshiper. Look at how when the lawyer comes up to Jesus and asks him, that basically tells you the stance on Christianity, and the stance on Christianity and lawyers right there. Because lawyers used to be somebody in the community that understood the rules. So my grandfather, spending 23 years in the Army, rewriting the recruiting manuals for the Army, Navy, Air Force, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, and I think even the Coast Guard. So all the branches, because my grandfather was such a good recruiter that he would look at you and say, "You don't fit in the Army. You be a better Marine, or you be a better sailor, or you be a better airman, or you should probably go in the Coast Guard." My grandfather, he knew he was searching for the right soldiers. I mean, he escorted nukes around Vietnam. He did, I think, 2 tours. My great uncle was in the middle of his third tour, and they both went off and became drill sergeants together. My grandfather wrote the recruiting manuals. They offered him officer, equal rank to officer. So as an E6, they would have transferred him to an O6. He was actually offered that 3 times in his career and turned it down all 3 times. He was even offered E10, which is Sergeant Major of the Army. It's the highest rank you could possibly get. But they wanted another 10 years because he was such a good recruiter that that he would that they, every one of the branches, not only did they give him accolades, but they wanted him to be the 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 force that would build the next generation of military. And he did it in his own way, but he stepped away before, he got fully involved in it. So the thing about my grandfather is he would get involved just enough until it started getting to a point where his name was going to get put on it, and he didn't want his name on anything because things go good, things go bad. But he's really the one that influenced me most when it came to sales, because he taught me he taught me how to build a relationship with somebody. He would tell me how he built relationships with students and how he was able to recruit them, and how he would ask them a set of questions, and based upon their answers to those questions would help him decide what branch of the military they needed to be in. Even though he was in the Army and he had to recruit for the Army, he recruited for everybody because he was trying to find the right soldier. And so using that mentality is how I redid myself in sales. So let's see what sales. Okay, so I already said guy has been a motorcycle 25 years. That's nice. Better today. Thank you. Okay. Uh, uh, truth. Okay. Salesman could demonstrate and prove to customer like Kirby. Yes, but see, the thing is Kirby is hawking a vacuum cleaner. It is the way that they train you is high pressure sales. That's how I got the name the redhead who wouldn't leave. I don't like that reputation. That reputation, to some people, they'd be like, yeah, that means I'm a great salesman. No, that means I was a shitty salesman. I just sold because I was using brute force. And that's how I started. I mean, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. Mm. I didn't know what I was doing at all. All I knew is that if I needed to eat, I need to sell one of these damn vacuum cleaners. It wasn't until I changed my mentality that my sales really took off, and I didn't have to do brute force sales. Like I talk about, like in the financial industry, that's my last major sales job, and that's kind of shows me how much I changed over the years. Because instead of people going, okay, I'm buying this, but that's just because I don't think there's any other option. In a lot of ways, people felt pressured into it. Versus by the end, people would call me up because they liked me, they trusted me, and I built a relationship with them. And they would call me up and say, Tuck, I got some extra money. What else can you sell me? And I'd be like, nah, can't do that. We've sold you everything you need. Keep your extra money, save it for a rainy day. Things might go sideways sometime, or you might need to make a repair or something like that. Save your money. Most salesmen, especially in my office, they would have jumped at it and they would have churned her until they took every single dollar from her. But because of the way that my grandfather influenced me and kind of helped me change the way that I did my sales, I didn't need to do that, because I would sit down in front of somebody and I'd be like, this is a product, and I know that this is the one that works for you because these are the answers to those questions. So if you were poor, you're going on Medicaid. If you had money, you might be going on you might be going on you might be getting an Advantage plan. People, life insurance, um you only go for the younger kids because those are the ones. But then, you're selling them a whole life policy because you're selling it to them as an investment versus a term policy, which would save them money and they can invest the difference. There's all kinds of different things that go into it. Truth, huh? Most would jump all over someone saying they had extra money. Rediger, no, 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 no. My old man, dude, my old man has been swindled. I remember this is when he was stationed at Fort Lewis. This is right before I went to go live with my grandma a second time. Um, we were in a parking lot. Some dude was selling a speaker system, and I don't know if it was stolen or if it was black market or whatever, but it turned out to be not as legitimate as we thought. But it wasn't because my old man figured it out. It was because my stepmom knew what the fuck was going on. She was the smart one in that. My old man, it's easy. Like if you know his pain points, man, you can manipulate him all the way to the bank if you wanted to. Because that, but that's a sad no. He's not a good judge of character. Um, uh, uh, You know, and I would say that I'm not even as good of a judge of character as I should be, as I need to be, but I'm a lot better than my old man. I'm even a lot better. Well, my mom was the one who wasn't as very trusting of people to begin with. So I don't know. But yeah, no, my old man, no, no, no. He got taken for like $500, and this is in like 92, 93. He got taken for $500 for a speaker system. There was like $100 at one of the local things. They sold it to my old man. My old man spent everything he had. My stepmom was pissed. And because those guys were running a hustle, there was no way he could get his money back. At least I don't think he got his money back. I was like 12, so I don't remember much. Mm. Uh, uh, no, 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 no. I disagree with you, Beth. What's up, Tommy? Uh, uh, yeah, I'm going in today, to the post office. So I will check to see if I have anything. Mm. All right. So, okay, what was that question? Because I wanted to comment to it. Okay, you think it's bad. Well, thank you, Beth. I appreciate your permission to disagree. Um, no, because the thing is, our ancestors, they fought diseases, they fought nature, they fought they fought the environment the whole time. It's always been a struggle. Well, now that we've gotten now that we've gotten more centralized, more organized, maybe not more civil, but more organized. Um, the way that our predator system works, because you have to have the way that nature is set up is that you have to have some form of danger. Even the apex predator has other things that are beneath them, but still have enough of a defense that they can defend themselves against an apex predator and get away. Okay, so with that being said, if we have changed where we don't have to worry about nature, we don't have to worry about diseases, and we're in a centralized, organized society that has rules and a sense of civility and some basic guidelines, right? Well, now that we don't have to fight that, now we've got to fight a whole new enemy because nature has to find its balance. And so, therefore, instead of having to worry about not only predators within our own community and the nature and all that other stuff, but now we've got to worry about it, the predators in our own community using a different attack. And instead of doing like what we used to do back in the day, which is brute force, now the apex predator, in order to or in order to maintain the balance and order, that has changed. And so instead of having to worry about dodging mountain lions and dinosaurs and you know, bears and all kinds of stuff like that, you now have to deal with the psychological aspect. So your survival has become more psychological because of the way that society has evolved, compared to physical and being aware and understanding that you're going to have a shorter lifespan. So for people that fail to recognize that, that is the thinning of the weak. That is the thinning of the people that would have never really made it to begin with. Because again, nature has to find its balance. We've basically dropped the infant mortality rate to non-existent, which means it now has to find another way to balance us out. And so that's where the psychological aspect comes in. If you're going to, instead of having to worry about somebody coming up and getting you in an alley, the most threatening predator at this point in time is one that has complete control over the psychological aspect of the situation, because that's where it's become. In the modern era, instead of having to carry weapons, your weapon is your mind. You have to you have to be able to protect your mind, because what happens when we start evolving into telepathy? That's something that we will eventually evolve into. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, you better be up to par on the whole psychological aspect, because now your thoughts are out on the being broadcast openly, unless you learn how to put those barriers up around your thoughts and your brain to begin with, to be able to keep it from getting out, because then everybody can read your thoughts. okay, unless you put up certain guard walls that prevent that from happening. And so in that evolution to telepathy, part of that evolution is what how we deal with the psychological aspect and the psychological threats, because that's the next stage of evolution. We have learned to manage and control our environment enough to be able to have an easier time in building our society and our civilization. So the next obstacle for us to overcome is the mental aspect of it, because we've learned the physical aspect. Now we need to learn the mental aspect. Nature is teaching you how to prepare for anything that comes along if you pay attention to it. At first, you had to worry about the physical aspect, worry about predators coming on. Like we got coyotes, we got bobcats, we've got two-legged predators. Okay. Um, and back in the day, that was your biggest concern. You never had to worry about somebody manipulating and using psychological tricks to be able to get you to do what they wanted you to do. But now they do. So therefore, that's just the even conclusion. This is what's going to push us down that evolutionary path to begin with, is the psychological fortification, which therefore, as we censor ourselves in speech, we will figure out other ways to communicate. And that may be how we start opening up telepathy to begin with, because it'll get to a point where you can't even speak freely. People still have to be who they are. There's things where I know I can't say it publicly, but I got to find someone to tell. Okay. And so, I will find someone to tell, just so that I don't put it out to the masses. And that's the real thing, is people will have a harder time censoring and filtering themselves to where their thoughts will start seeping through, and then that will be the way in which we communicate in the future. But that's like 1,000 years in the future. It's not right now. Um, well, yes, Edward, but you got to realize, in order to get to telepathy, you're going to have to have a much more stable mind. You're going to have a much better understanding of psychology in order to do something like that. Okay. So, anyways, guys, today is going to be short. So I'm giving you a 2-minute warning now, because Sam and I, we're going to go into town. We got to go pick up some stuff. I need to pick up some food, especially considering the post office is an asshole. Mm. And yeah, anyways, um, yeah. So, sorry, my brain is not working. It's still early for me. I mean, I stood up till like 1 o'clock last night, and part of it was because my tooth was hurting. The other part of it was because, yeah, just shit happens. I tend to get my second wind of energy at night, and then that's when once it goes dark, it's like all of a sudden all that energy that I thought I lost comes back. I get my second wind, and then that's why it's so hard to fall asleep at night. Actually, I have most of my energy at night, and I don't know why. I don't know why this is happening. This is new for me, but anyways. But all right, guys, you guys got any questions, anything else like that? Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. Share it with everybody. I hope you watched this morning's video. It is the first video of a 7-part series that I am creating. I even put a playlist up for it last night. Um, and so therefore you can see the next step in my vision for what it is that I'm building. I hope a lot of you will join in on it, not just for entertainment, but to actually learn from it and use it as a blueprint for what you need to set up around yourself for survival for what's coming. The breakdown of society, the breakdown of yeah, the breakdown of society as a whole. I mean, there's so many aspects to the breakdown. It's just better to do all encompassing. But yeah, that's what I want. When I started this channel, like I said, I wanted to teach people who were going to be part of the Great Dispossession. I wanted to teach them how to survive homelessness. That's why I started documenting my homeless journey. It took me a minute to figure out how to package my message, but the message has always been the same. It's the packaging that keeps changing. That's it. Whole clothes. I have On Guard. Let's see if you can buy whole clothes. Buy on it. Well, the On Guard has clove in it. I've actually been using that because that's kind of what's helping me. Because in a lot of ways, it is the offset to antibiotics. So since I can't get antibiotics because they put it behind a prescription wall, using On Guard is my safe alternative that I don't have to worry about it. But it's like $50 for a bottle, but it lasts me for a whole year. But yeah, any tooth pain, any ailments, anything else like that, it is like my one-stop shop for my immune system. After I had an allergic reaction because the doctors gave me the wrong medication, my immune system was non-existent. It basically stripped me of my immune system and stripped my insides. That's why I have stomach issues. And yeah, I was a quack doctor. But uh, uh, where was I going with that? Um, God, guys, I'm not exhausted. I'm just my brain just isn't working. It seems like the harder I push, the worse it gets. Like, when I wasn't pushing myself as hard, but I was still staying busy, my memory and my thought patterns and my ability to keep a coherent thought was much better. The busier I get, the harder I push, the harder it is for me to not only remember what I was talking about, but just for my motor skills to begin with. It's getting to be a point. But the core message is, this has always been part of my core message. A lot of it is packaging. How do I get the masses? Because the thing is, I know that maybe 1% of my total subscriber population will be the active people that will go out there. So we're saying maybe 80 people. Okay, 80 to 100, 80 to what, 8,000, yeah. Yeah, about 80 people, 100 people out of all the subscribers I have here, and it's probably most of you guys, are these serious people. But in order to be able to find all of those people to set up the network, you have to play the law of averages. For 1,000,000 people, I might find 500 people that are serious about what it is that they're doing, and they're going to set up that infrastructure. It's not about subscribers, it's about reach. It's about playing the numbers game. That's really what I'm playing here, because I know that if I talk to 1,000,000, if I can reach 1,000,000 people, that I will at least get 500 people that will buy into my message because they see the truth and validity into it. And then that will start that whole snowball. So then I can, instead of focusing on the on constantly reaching that 1,000,000 people, once I have that, let's say 500 people, I can focus 100% of my effort on those people, because those are the ones that are serious. So many preppers, so many content creators, they're too busy focusing on the lowest common denominator instead of the ones that want it. Not everybody wants the truth. Not everybody wants to know what's going on. Not everybody wants to think about preparing, whether it be because it's debilitating and it's psychologically impactful to them. It doesn't matter what it is. But this is just the way it is. But anyways, guys, um, ask Butna in a serious moment about keeping concentration. Take care, Tuck. Will do. Yes, I can't take penicillin, all things. They won't give me penicillin. They keep giving me amoxicillin. I'm not allergic to penicillin. Um, I need to figure out how to make my own. I know it comes from mold and maybe cheese, and maybe I might need to get some goat milk and let it mold up and figure out how to process my own uh, my own antibiotics. But that's something that's going to be crucial to my survival moving forward, because since I was a kid, I've been antibiotic resistant. I once had an ear infection for a year, and the doctor said, "Well, he's had it for a year. We can't do anything for him." I thought it was from the spider bite at first, but like after realization and remembering what the doctor said to me back then, I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah. I've probably been antibiotic resistant since I was probably like 9, 10 years old. And this is in the 80s." Mm, okay. Thumbs up, y'all. Honey is antibacterial. Yes, but that means I need to get a beehive. Yeah, that's something I will have to do. Um, I will work on it. All right, you guys have a great day. I will see you tonight. I will tell you about my story from town. See you guys tonight.